All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 5:51. This webinar is going to start probably just a couple of minutes after 6. Let everybody get on here and get going. So it will start in about 8 minutes. If you are watching this as a replay, you're going to have about 8 minutes that you sit here and wait, or you can fast forward 8 minutes into the video. So, and then I'm going to get this crazy screen duplicator off of here. Go ahead and bring that down. I'm excited to bring this stuff to you guys and kind of let you know what's going on, how to get out of some of this debt that's over everybody's head. It's amazing when just my basic Facebook group, I put out a simple post of, hey, if I was going to show you guys how to get out of some debt, who'd be interested? And we had like almost 200 people that commented that they would be interested. I know a lot of those people were unavailable this evening, but I got a feeling this webinar will get a lot of replay action, lots and lots of replay action. So I'm going to show you guys, like literally, I'm going to show you what we do, how our debt relief program works. I will tell you that you're going to have, a couple of minutes at the end where I'm going to tell you about our service. So I'm going to tell you how debt relief works. I'm going to tell you some options that you have. I'm going to tell you how you could go about getting out of debt in some ways. And then the last few minutes, guys, is the trade-off. That's where I believe it's fair to just say, hey, look, I'm going to give you guys all this information. The last few minutes of the webinar, I'm going to show you what our service does, and then how we can help you. But like I said, I promise you a lot of content between now and then. The webinar will start in about 5 minutes. Wow, my email is just blowing up of people registering for this thing. So excited. Thanks, man. Got 3 or 4 minutes left, guys. Wow, this seems like forever, but this webinar will start really soon, I assure you. provide you guys some great info. I don't know if you guys have used this YouTube Live at all, but it's pretty awesome. Just a couple of more minutes. Hey, Jason, how's it going, man? Welcome, welcome. People are starting to jump on. Hey, Sharon, how's it going? Stacy, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Guys, I've got a bunch of people messaging me about trying to jump on. So this is the first time that people have used or that we've used the Facebook Live event to launch a webinar. So we're having some people are having a little bit of trouble, I think, getting on. But I know we got a lot of people that are sending me messages that they're trying to get on. So what I'm going to do is, if it's all right with everybody, I'm just going to wait just a couple of more minutes, and like 2 minutes, we're going to get going. Let some of those other people get a chance to get on board. Hey, Dusty and Amanda. Aaron Rodriguez. Really good. Getting a lot of rain. Rainy week. Where are you at, Sharon? All right, guys. It is getting to that time. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the debt relief webinar. Now, we all know that um, everybody has debt. I mean, there's good debt, there's bad debt. We do make sure that people understand the difference, but I'm talking about the good old-fashioned bad debt. The debt that you're not using properly, the debt that's costing you money, not making you money. Now, I'm a proponent of good debt. I believe that you can utilize debt in the right way to make money. But today we're going to be talking about the other kind of debt, the bad debt, the junk debt, the trash debt. We're going to be talking about mostly unsecured, high interest, long-term debt, the type of debt that it just pounds down on you. We've all felt it. Especially you get those credit card bills every month. You get those statements in every month, and you look at what you're paying, and it's just not changing. It's just not changing what the balance looks like, and it's so frustrating. So I'm gonna first give you guys a few facts, and normally say they would say I'm gonna give you some facts that are gonna be surprising. These actually aren't going to be surprising. I'll tell you that why am I doing this? I hope I didn't build this whole thing to auto go through. I did. So first, here's some facts. You probably won't be really surprised. There's about 50 million households that have what they consider to be too much unsecured debt. It will take families more than 10 years, most families more than 10 years, to pay off their debt. Surely that I've got this on some sort of autoplay or something, right? I don't want to do it that way, so we're just going to do it that way, and we're just going to make it, we're going to wing it. I'm a winger. We're going to make it work. So let me give you guys a little more room. I'm going to zoom in here. Maybe quite not that far. We're going to go right about like this. I hope you guys can see that. If not, you're able to kind of follow along a lot better by doing it this way than by constantly following. Apparently, I had it on autoplay. I don't know why it was on autoplay, but apparently it was. So it takes most families more than 10 years to pay off their debt. So to give you an idea, guys, 10 years from now, you're looking at 2027. Think about that year, 2027. That sounds like something from a science fiction movie. That's the year 2027. Most families are looking at that long before they could be paid off on their debt. Student loan debt is now at 1.3 trillion. That's trillion dollars. It has, for the first time in history, surpassed even credit card debt. There's more student loan debt than there is credit card debt. And the average graduate in 2016 had nearly 40K in debt, $37,172. Now, the average credit card interest rates, guys, are over 15%. So do you realize that most banks borrowing money from the Fed are getting that money right now at 0.1%? They're getting extremely cheap money, but yet they're loaning it out to you at 15%. That's crazy. Now, yes, a lot of people go, Eric, yeah, but I've got 0%. Well, you do for a minute, but what happens when that 0% goes away? What happens when you make a 1-day late payment? Guys, I don't mean late like showing up on your credit report. I mean 1-day late payment, and the next thing you know, 0% becomes 29.94%. Let me tell you a story about a guy that happened to. His name is, it was me. That's right. I admit it. I was 1.5 hours past what that company considers as a late payment. They said I had to be paid by 5 o'clock East Coast time, and I paid it at like 5:30 Central time. And I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot to pay that. And I ran in and I paid it, and they raised my interest rate, guys, from 0% to 29.94%. Imagine the difference in what that costs me to now utilize that account. Enough so that I closed it. And I never recommend closing an account. I never recommend closing, especially credit card accounts. So when enough of a financial burden that I was like, I don't even want that account anymore. I don't even want that account. So I closed it. Here's another fun one for you. I really like this one. Debt and love. Till debt do you part. I wrote that. I put that in there, see? Till debt do you part. More than 65% of people in the survey that I read said that how much debt a person has would affect their choice to marry that person. And I've got Dusty with me, a friend of mine that owns another company from out of town, and he was telling me that he has a client right now that came to his service. He owns another credit repair company. They came to him, and he said, "I need to fix my credit because the girl that I want to marry said that she won't marry me until I fix my credit." Real life story. He had a couple of years of unfiled taxes and had some bad credit, and she will not marry him until he clears up the credit and files the back taxes. So it's more than just the creditors who care. Guys, business partners. You start going out and looking to grow your business, and one of the things that they're going to look at is how much debt do you have? What type of debt management skills do you have? Those things come a long way in when I'm looking for a business partner, or if I'm looking to do a joint venture with somebody, that's something that I look at. I like to know, what are the financial habits? What are what type of person am I dealing with financially? Now, you do have some options, and I'm going to kind of go through those, okay? You've got debt settlement, debt consolidation, bankruptcy, or a program that I'm going to tell you guys about tonight called debt assumption, right? And I guess there could be one more. I guess you could just ignore it. But if you're going to ignore it, you might want to know that the number one plaintiff in New York State court systems is Midland Funding. They're a debt collection firm, and they file more lawsuits than any other company. Now, that's from the state of New York, but guys, they file those complaints nationwide. Nationwide, Midland Funding. And I'd also let you know that number 3, 7, and 8 on the top 10 list were also debt collection firms. So number 1, number 3, number 7, and 8 on the top 10 list of New York State who files the most lawsuits, it's debt collection firms. It's not, consumer protection. It's not civil rights people. It's not one company suing another company. It's debt collection law firms. They file more than any other companies in the country. So let's talk about what some of those options look like. So let's say you ignore it. Guys, if you ignore debt, I want to promise you it does not go away. It just doesn't. The interest keeps growing. The fees keep growing. Lawsuits are very, very likely, which leads to judgments and garnishments. So let's say that you've got a credit card account and you just stop paying it. Do you think they stop charging you interest? No. Do you think they stop charging you late fees? No. Do you think they stop charging you over the limit fees and monthly fees and admin fees and every other type of fee that they can, pump in there? No. They keep charging all of those fees. Then they sue you. After they sue you, we're Americans and most of us just don't show up, right? Which is the number one way to lose. That's not legal advice, but let me tell you, the fastest way to lose a lawsuit is to don't show up. So lawsuits happen, then they get a judgment, and then they get a garnishment. And you remember how you were having trouble paying all your bills? Well, now you have 25% less money to pay all your bills with. Congratulations. Good luck, right? So you say, okay, Eric, I get it. I don't want to ignore it. I want to do something about it. Let's talk about settlement. Well, settlement companies, debt settlement companies, you're going to look at normally an upfront fee between 15 to 25%, which can get quite extensive. So if you've got $100,000 in debt, you're looking at $15,000 to $25,000 that you have to come out of pocket in order to use those services. Now, that's not all of the money you pay. That's just what you have to pay up front. That's like the type of money that it takes to get started. Also, debt settlement, guys, does not protect you from lawsuit. And now there's some good. It very well, most likely even, will stop collection calls while you're in that process. So yes, the phones are going to stop ringing off the hook the way they are if you happen to be delinquent. It normally takes 24 to 36 months or even longer, and usually requires additional payments to what you're making now. So normally, you're actually gonna see your payments go up in a lot of cases because you're trying to fill up a reserve account. You're trying to fill up your reserve so that you can settle out the debts for, 40 or 50% or whatever. Now, one thing to remember is that on debt settlement, you're looking at taxable income. So let's say that you owe, $100,000 and you settle that debt at $40,000. So they forgave $60,000. You need to be aware that you are most likely going to be getting a 1099 from them at the end of the year for $60,000 that you have to pay taxes on. That's the way debt forgiveness works. They send you out a 1099 for 60 grand. That's what they forgave. And then if you're in a 30% tax bracket, guys, that's another $18,000 that you have to pay on top. That's another 18 grand that has to be paid because now you're paying taxes on the $60,000 that was forgiven. So debt settlement, be very, very careful. It's normally not the best option for people. All right, let's talk about consolidation. Yes, it can lower your payments, but it only does that by stretching you into a new term loan, right? It can reduce interest rates, yes, but most of the debt that gets consolidated is rolled into normally a home equity type of loan, a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan. And so now you've got your house in place of where you did have unsecured debt. You've now secured that debt. So think about it. Before, all they could do was sue you. Now they can take away your house. Okay? Also, the debt is not reduced with consolidation. You actually pay the exact same amount. The only thing that happens is you can get your interest reduced and possibly the term extended. But yes, it does stop those harassing collection calls. A lot of people, this is what's amazing, but so many people choose some of these options because they want their phone to stop ringing. They're being hounded. They're being, pounded every single day with, Mr. Smith, you got to pay. Mr. Smith, you got to pay. Mr. Smith, you got to pay, right? I will tell you also consolidation, while it is a little bit more lax, it is credit-based. So you're going to have some credit in place in order to do many of the consolidation loans. So think about this. If you're already maxed out on your credit and you're already even starting to miss some payments and things like that, that becomes a difficult situation as well because now your credit's already in trouble. So how are you going to use your credit to pay off credit? Think about that. Remember the old robbing Peter to pay Paul? You're using credit to pay off credit. Doesn't always sound like the best option. Now let's talk about bankruptcy really quick. Bankruptcy follows you for 10 years or more, right? Could even be more. And people say, Eric, no, it only stays on your credit for 10 years. And I say, well, let's talk about Chapter 13. Right? Everybody knows about Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is going to hit you and stay on your credit for 10 years. But what a lot of people aren't aware is that Chapter 7 has become more and more difficult to file. You have to be approved to file a Chapter 7. And a lot of people who have any significant types of income have trouble doing that. Usually people who have a significant amount of debt got that way because they normally had a significant amount of income and they had the ability to pay those types of debts, and then they just got over their head. And now when they go to file bankruptcy, oh, I'm sorry, you're not eligible for a Chapter 7. We're going to lean you over to a Chapter 13. So if you go to a Chapter 13, and let's say it takes you 5 years to pay off all that debt through your restructure plan, your Chapter 13 bankruptcy is going to sit on your report for 7 years from the date discharged. So that, let's say it takes you 5 years to pay it all off. Now you're going to set 7 years longer than that. So that Chapter 13 bankruptcy is going to be on your credit profile for 12 years. It's a misconception that a lot of people think 7 years. It can only be 7 years. No, that's not true. That's simply not true. There's other items that can stay on your credit longer than 7 years. And Chapter 13 bankruptcy is actually one of those, because when you go into that restructuring plan, you realize you're still paying all of your debts. They're just being restructured and paid in order, and the interest stops and the fee stops, and you're still paying all of your debts. And you've now, you can see there on the bottom, it's a credit killer. You've destroyed your profile. Credit killer bankruptcy is a credit killer by far. Now I want to talk to you guys about a program called debt assumption, right? And I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. One thing that we do is, all my services, whether it's credit repair, whether it's, this particular service, no matter what it is, I like to just tell you how we do it. And then at the very last few minutes of this webinar, I'm going to say, hey, if you'd like us to do it, this is what it costs. That's it, right? I think that's pretty fair that we give a lot of knowledge and then we say, and if you'd like us to do it, here's how you can do that. So it works with nearly all unsecured debts. So that means credit cards. That means lines of credit that aren't backed by a mortgage. That means personal loans that aren't backed by a mortgage or an auto, anything like that. That means collections like medical bills. That means anything that's with a third-party creditor, right? And then some student loans. So it works with private student loans. It does not work with federally backed student loans. The debt assumption program does stop the collection calls, right? The phone stops ringing. They can't keep calling you. It only takes 6 to 9 months to complete the program. For the vast majority of people, it takes 6 to 9 months to complete the program. So you're talking about the difference between debt settlement taking 24 to 36 months down to now 6 to 9 months. There's also no tax burden because the way the debt is dismissed, it doesn't come with a 1099, so you don't get the tax burden. And through our program, which I'll talk to you a little bit about more, there's lawsuit protection that actually allows you true relief from debt. So I want to give you a couple of kind of examples and walk through the type of savings that I'm talking about. So let's say that a person owed $50,000 in unsecured debt. So you got 50 grand in credit card debt. Guys, that's not a big number. I promise you. Most people that we deal with have 40 to 50 grand in credit card debt, but I see people with 100,000, 160,000, almost $202,000 in unsecured credit that they're coming in, and because they're like, I've just gotten myself in a place where I'm stuck. Now, if that person was to try to pay $685 a month, and I did this on purpose, yes, but if those people had gone to a basic credit card interest rate, 17%, let's call it, if they were trying to pay $685 a month, they would never pay off the account. That's not a sideways 8. That is an infinity sign. You would never, ever, ever pay off that debt. You would pay till you were 100 years old, and your balance would have never gone down a single dollar because you're not even covering the interest at that point. Well, let's say you bump it up to $1,000 a month. Well, now you'll get that paid off in a short and sweet 88 months. 88 months you can pay that off. You'd pay almost 90 grand. You'd pay almost twice as much as you actually borrowed, right? So let's talk about if you wanted to get out of debt in 3 years, because that's what I kind of posted for you guys. I said, I want to show you how to get out of debt in 3 years. In order to get out of debt in 3 years, that person would have to pay $1,763 a month. Now, you only pay $52,890, so you're like, what? Hey, wait a minute, that only cost me almost 3 grand in interest. That's really not bad. That's less than $1,000 a year in interest. Sounds good. And I'm like, yep, sounds great, except the $1,763. So you would have to bump your payments up to $1,763 to be able to get out of that in 36 months. Guys, most people simply can't afford $1,763 in credit card payments a month, especially when they no longer have access to use the accounts. They've maxed them all out. They're in trouble. Let's talk about how much you could actually save on doing some of these different programs, all right? So how much do you save, like overall? Well, with the Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you actually still pay all of your debt, pay 100% of it. Consolidation, you still actually pay it all. You just pay it in with different terms. Settlement, you usually end up at about 65% between it usually settles out around maybe 40% or so. You're going to have some fees. But guys, you also have to remember the tax burden. So even if you settle it at $40,000, and let's say the company didn't charge you anything, which is not going to happen, but let's say you settled it at $40,000 and you got $60,000 in forgiven debt, and you're in a pretty basic 30% tax bracket, you're going to have $18,000 in fees to the IRS that year. So now that 40,000 just became 58,000. Then you factor in the company's going to make something, so you're at about 65%. With the debt assumption program, you're looking at 45%. And I'll show you how to do that and pay it out over 36 months and be done. Done. I love that word, done. 36 months and you're done. No extra payments, no additional fees, no paying tax penalties, nothing. So you talk about that same 50K in unsecured debt. Well, I looked at basically figuring out the minimum payment. So the person's going to keep making their minimum payment. They would pay $129,525 by paying $785 minimum payment for 165 months. 165 months is just shy of 14 years. It's 2017. You're talking about 2031 before that person would be out of debt. They only had 50K in debt, but they paid $129,000 and it took them 14 years. Through the program that I'm going to show you, you'd pay $685 for 36 months and you're done. You paid $24,659. That's simple. That's simple, right? So the way it works is you're going to get 3 people and then they're going to get 3. I'm so sorry. I'm totally kidding. I had to put that slide in there because it was, you guys know, it was just fun, right? So you're going to get 3 people and then they're going to get 3 people and their friends are going to get their friends. And the next thing you know, it's a blessing loom or whatever that deal that went around Facebook was. So the answer, guys, come on, I thought it was funny. All right. Dusty's laughing at me. So seriously, how does this really work? And it comes down, it's not magic. It's just math. It's not magic. It's just math. It's a knowledge. It's an understanding of utilizing the laws and the rules that are already set out in your favor. And it's like this. Debt assumption is a special type of debt relief that involves 3 parties. It does take 3 parties to do this particular process. You've got the creditor, you've got the borrower, and then you have a third party who assumes that debt. That is allowed under a law that's over 200 years old that allows a person to assume another person's debt if they choose to, right? Then it utilizes what's called a change of terms. Everybody has gone through this, right? You open up your mail and it's from the credit card company and says, hey, we're changing your terms. If you agree, just continue using your card, right? You ever got one of those? Happens all the time. You actually get them all the time and you don't even realize it. You get them on your cell phone with apps. You open up an app and it says, hey, we've changed the terms. If you agree, just continue using, right? You get them from websites that from your email provider. Hey, we've changed the terms. If you agree, just keep on keeping on. Guys, that's a legal way for them to continue to do business, right? At least once a year, normally the 4th or 1st quarter, credit card companies send out what's called a change of terms notice to their cardholder. The letter will document the changes to your credit card agreement, ranging from potential increases in fees to new clauses to changes in interest to how they charge different things. And because these changes can be drastic, you should read that in its entirety. You should read that in its entirety. Now, do most people read that in its entirety? No, they don't. They just go, oh, whatever, and they throw it away and they keep on swiping. They just keep on swiping. Well, what's great is because the law works one way, but you realize that it also works the other way. If they can change the terms, why can't you? I think that so many people on here just went, what? If they can change the terms, why can't you? Right? So you have the same rights to update those terms as the creditor, and through the process of assumption, so do we. So what our group does is assumes the debt, right? And then changes the terms it uses legal term changes to the update, to the agreement with the creditor, to those that are much more in your favor. So the terms might say things like no interest, no late fees, no negative credit reporting, etc. We then basically make those notices to the credit card company, right? And when they get those notices and have received them, they come with some specifics that say, if you agree, we're going to be sending you a payment. If you agree to it, then great, you agreed. If they cash that payment, if they accept that payment, then guess what? They agreed, just like you agreed. A lot of people say, well, that's not fair. Well, why is it fair for them to do that to you? They don't have to accept the agreement. I've never seen them not. I mean, every person that I've ever put into this program, they've accepted the agreement and accepted the payment. But there's nothing that says why is it fair for them to do that to you, but not fair for you to do that to them? Guys, think about that. Why is it fair that they can do that to you, but you cannot do that to them? And the answer is it's totally fair. You can do it. So you turn the tables. You send in a change of the terms that says, hey, we're going to be sending you a payment. If you agree to the payment, all you have to do, or if you agree to the new terms, all you have to do is accept the payment. By accepting the payment, they've agreed to the new terms. Then hold them accountable. The vast majority of the time, the creditors do not follow the new terms of service. That's mainly, it goes back to the right hand not knowing what the left hand's doing. The legal department got it. They may, even if they accept the new change of terms by accepting the payment, the billing department doesn't know that they have to treat that account differently. So they continue to charge interest, and they continue to charge late fees, and they continue to negatively report to the credit, and they continue to do all of those things. And once the damages outweigh the debt, now you have some really significant leverage. You have some really significant leverage to be able to say, hey, yeah, I understand that I have this $40,000 in unpaid debt, but you have broken our contract. You have breached our agreement. You've done that by continuing to charge interest. You've done that by placing negative reporting on my credit report. You've done that by continuing to charge me late fees. And in the terms of your agreement, in your update, to the terms, you have laid out damages in place that if they do those things, they agree to damages of X amount of dollars. Maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 7,000, whatever it is. But they've agreed to damages if they continue to do those things. Then you just sit back and wait a little bit. That's what the 6 to 9 months is for. You sit back and you let them shoot themselves in the foot, because they're going to keep breaking the agreement. They're going to keep reporting to credit. They're going to keep, charging interest. They're going to keep doing all of those things. And every time they do that, you've gained more and more leverage. Now, it doesn't matter if the accounts are delinquent. It doesn't matter if you're paying on them, if you're not paying on them. The great thing is that there's no taxes, so no dismissed debt. It carries no tax burden because it's not forgiven debt. It's not forgiven. It's dismissed because it's the company has wiped it away. Like, no, okay, this like never happened type situation. It's not like they are forgiving you that balance and still reporting and then sending you a 1099 at the end of the year. The process does cause some credit damage during the process. It normally lasts around 6 to 9 months. The idea behind that, and I hate to say you want it to cause credit damage, but that's part of the terms that you've changed, is they're not allowed to report negatively. Well, as they continue to report your account and it continues to show negative activity, that is increased leverage. That's more and more and more that you are now owed because of their breach of terms. I hope that makes sense for everybody. I've got Dusty over here kind of monitoring the chat for me. If you do have questions, I don't mind questions. Feel free to ask a couple. He's going to write them down, and as we get a chance, we're going to answer those questions. But one great thing about this program is also, or not even just the program, you can do it, right? I like to point out that yes, you can do these things. You could file a change of terms of service with your credit card company. You could then hold them accountable for doing that, accepting the payment. You could then watch them make their violations along the way, and then you could leverage those violations to get them to dismiss the debt. You can absolutely do all of those things. The great thing is the program or doing it has no income or credit requirements. What's crazy is debt consolidation has some credit requirements. You've got to be able to have the type of credit to pay off loans that are hurting your credit. It's kind of a head scratcher there. So you got some loans, you started getting in trouble, they're hurting your credit, and now to consolidate that, they're going to check your credit. Doesn't fit in for a lot of people. There's also no income requirements or limitations, right? So if you go to file bankruptcy and you make, not, I hate to say too much, that's a crazy term, too much money, but having too much income can cause you to be denied to be able to file a bankruptcy. You no longer are eligible to file bankruptcy. Many of the people that we've had come to us came because they said, well, I tried to file bankruptcy, but I wasn't eligible, and they wanted to push me to a Chapter 13. Chapter 13 doesn't save you any money, really. I mean, I guess it does in the long term over interest and fees and things like that, but you're still paying your debt. So let's talk about some examples of real life numbers that actually went through the program and what their payments went from and to. All right, these are real life numbers. So originally owed $118,000. They were paying $2,600. It would have taken them 63 months. They would have paid $163,800. Right? Their new payment, by utilizing this process, went down to $1,475 a month for 36 months. They paid $53,100 and they were done. Guys, they saved $110,000. $110,000. Think about that. Another person, just to put it in a little more, a little easier to understand realm for some people. This person had $24,000. They were paying $586 a month. It would have taken them 67 months. They would have paid $39,262. Under our program, their payment dropped by $230 a month. They're going to pay $359 for 36 months, and they'll pay $12,924. So they saved 26 grand. They saved more in interest and fees than they actually owed. You realize that? They saved more than they owed. Let's talk about somebody, this other person had $63,000, right? They were paying $1,460 a month. It was going to take them 74 months. 74 months. You know what that sounds like to me? What is that? 7 years. No. That's 84. How long is that? 6 years? 72 months. Yeah, 6 years and 2 months. 6 years and 2 months. So they would have paid 108 grand on that 63. Under our program, their payment went down by about $600 a month to only 36 months, and they're only going to pay $30,509. So they saved $78,000. $78,000 that they saved by utilizing a debt assumption process, right? By utilizing a debt assumption, by filing a change of services, by allowing the creditor to violate the change of service, and then by leveraging those violations into lower amounts. How great. All right, so we are almost done. I want to answer questions on the program, but I'm quick and happy to tell you guys that I said the last slide, right, was going to be the cost. So if you have questions about the program, I'm glad to answer those. But let me give you the cost real quick because we don't ever hide our costs. I want to get to it. $250 enrollment fee, $100 per account, and $59.99 a month. So let's say you have 7 accounts, right? You'd pay a $250 enrollment fee plus $700, $100 for each account, which would be $700 and plus $250, $950. Now, you also have a $59.99 a month fee. Now, let me tell you what that is. That fee covers a lawsuit protection plan. If any creditor covered under your enrollment was to file suit during the process, this fee covers the affiliated attorneys to step in and defend the suit. And I love this fact. In 12 years of business, they've never lost a single lawsuit using these processes. And the reason is because the law is already on your side. We're just following the law. That's what's awesome. That's the reason. I mean, that's the reason lots of programs work. That's the reason credit repair works. It's if you just follow the law. When you follow the law, it's already on your side. So those numbers that I was kind of going through, guys, those are including the payments. That's including their fees. So it's actually including the debt and their fees. So it's a pretty great option. I'm going to answer some.
Got a question.
I'm going to answer some questions here.
Can this apply to UGA?
Can this apply to UGA? I don't know the ethics of saying yes to that. I hope I answered that question.
Do all accounts get closed?
The accounts in the accounts that you enroll do get closed. You can't expect a creditor to take a major hit like that and then still leave you access to that account. So yes, during the process, those accounts do get closed. I have a couple of really, really great options as well that allow you to, for those of you that have lines of credit with room open, right? We can also utilize the way the accounts sit to cover some of the fees. So in some of the cases, the accounts can be used to cover their own fees. We've had people that get out with very, 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 very low payments because they had the type of credit or available line of credit that they could both enroll and use to cover a fee. So let's say that they had $20,000 in credit, and they enrolled that $20,000. Now their fees for the entire process, or their 45% of the debt that has to be paid, is $9,000, right? They then used a different line of credit to pay that $9,000. Then they enrolled the second line of credit, so they only had to pay 45% of that, which is, I don't know that math off the top of my head, but you get it, somewhere around like $4,000 or something. 9,000 times 0.45. 4,050, right? Now, at that point, they could pay that $4,050 over 36 months, which comes out to, divide 4,050 by 36.
And they can't because they have a minimum payment requirement.
Right. So, and they couldn't even get down. There is a minimum requirement of 309. So they had to shorten that. They paid 309, 4,050 divided by 309. In 13 months. So they paid 309 for 13 months, and they were out of 20 grand.
And a couple bucks in the last month to cover the extra.
Yeah.
We have another question?
Yeah, another question.
How much to add my spouse?
How much to add your spouse is you just include them.
On joint accounts.
You can include them on joint accounts as well.
Do your clients see great improvement in their credit profile?
The question was, I know it varies by case, but do your clients see great improvement in their credit file? Lots of them, yes. Some of them, no. And I can actually elaborate a little bit. Imagine that somebody has really great credit and they've got 3 or 4 lines that have gotten out of hand, and those are maxed out and it's just tanking their scores. Well, through the process and having those all show zero balances, that's going to help that person massively because they have other good credit. Now, if somebody only has those accounts and through that process they get removed, or through that process they show as paid off and done, it's not going to massively help that person because they don't have other good credit. But we see people that come in all the time. Rondi was telling me he had a client just the other day that their score jumped over 100 points because they had a bunch of debt that was showing on their personal profile that then wasn't. It then wasn't showing. They had other lines of credit. They had other debt that was open and well paid that was still reporting there. So they then were only being judged by the good stuff and now no longer by the bad stuff. One other thing that I want to throw out to you guys is the program can also be included with business debt that was personally guaranteed. So if you have business lines of credit, those can be included as long as they were personally guaranteed. So if you got a line of credit that's only on your business name and it's only secured by your EIN, then no. But very, very few accounts fall into that range, actually. The majority of people's business debt, they have a personal debt guarantee on through business credit cards and business lines of credit.
You actually answered the question before I even asked it.
Oh, was that the next question?
That was the next question. So,
See, I just know what people are looking for.
What happens to my lines of credit if they ended up having to pay on a judgment? Would they have to be closed out?
Let me repeat that? I'm so sorry.
What happens to my lines of credit if they ended up having to pay on a judgment? Would they have to be closed out?
If you had a line of credit, the question, I don't mean to break into semantics because I don't really understand 100% what the question means, because that line of that question doesn't, unfortunately, I think I need more clarity because that one doesn't really make sense to me.
Here's a good question.
Student
loans apply? Question mark.
Student loans that are private apply, and that's non-federal. You'd be surprised, guys, that a lot of your loans that you even think may be federal, a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are private loans. A lot of people think, oh, well, mine are Sallie Mae, and that's federal. Well, a lot of Sallie Mae's loans are private. There was just the big issue with Navient. Navient, a lot of their loans are private. They're not federal. If you don't know whether your student loans are federal or private, we can help you find that out. But if it's listed as like U.S. Department of Ed, that's going to be a federal loan. But if it's listed at, Chase offers student loans, Wells Fargo offers student loans. Guys, all of those loans are unsecured and private, and yes, they can be included.
That's it.
Have I answered all the questions?
You answered all the questions.
So I'll try to go back really quick and answer that one question of your lines of credit. When you said if they have to be paid on a judgment, I don't understand if maybe you got a judgment and then you're using your line of credit to pay it.
He just clarified it.
Okay, clarified it.
Clarify. If the credit card companies does not adhere to the new terms and they default and they lose, what happens to the account? Can it still be used after the fact or not?
So when you're in the process of creating the new terms, those accounts are going to be closed. That line of credit is going to be closed. Now, the companies adhering to the new terms, guys, I hate to say I cannot legally tell you that the credit card company adheres to the new terms. I can tell you that I've never seen them not. Is that a fair statement? Like, I can't tell you that they're going to because I don't know the future, but we've never seen them not, because it goes into that, again, that left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing. When that notification of the new terms is sent out, it says if you agree to the new terms, all you have to do is accept the next payment that we send. When they accept that payment, they just do it. It goes to a payment processing center, they accept it. And when they accept it, they're bound to the new terms, whether they quote unquote agreed to or not. They're bound by their actions. They're not bound by their choice. They're bound by their action.
Right. How difficult would it be to acquire new lines of credit if this happened?
How difficult would it be to acquire new lines of credit if you go through the program? If you do this, then acquiring a new line of credit with that lender is very difficult, normally for a period of time. Some people say it's forever. I disagree, because I've watched people over and over and over that have come through our credit repair process who had a charge off with Wells Fargo where the account was completely charged off. They didn't pay anything on it. And 3 or 4 years later, they've got a new account with Wells Fargo. So I don't believe the answer is forever. But getting an account with that particular lender becomes more difficult. Now, guys, there's tons of lenders out there. There's tons of lenders. Finding a new bank to get with is not an issue. So the credit damage is limited in its processing. And then anything that doesn't happen through the removal process, the credit repair service that is offered for free at the top or at the end of the program to help kind of spice up or to clean up that file again. So most of our people don't have significant trouble getting credit after. If you didn't have trouble getting credit before, you probably won't have trouble getting credit after.
We cleaned them up.
Nice. Guys, that is debt assumption. It's a few people know about it, right? It's not a really common program. So debt assumption, if you are interested in it, 877, actually, here you go. Go back to that. There's your 250 enrollment, $100 per account, $59.99 a month, right? You're looking at that and then 45% of the debt. So 250 enrollment, let's say you only have 3 accounts. You're looking at $550 and then the $59.99 a month. Again, the $59.99 a month, guys, is for 36 months. Even if you pay the program off in 10 months or if you pay the program off in 12 months. Why do you think that might be? Dustin, why do you think that might be?
Protection long term against them coming back on the proposed.
But, right. You're looking, you want at least 3 years protection in case they ever decided to come back and file a lawsuit. Now, if they come back and file a lawsuit, we make sure that you guys are aware. Don't freak out. Like I said, in 12 years of business, they've never lost a single suit. The law in this program is on your side. The law says that you can do this. So the law doesn't say, hey, they figured out a loophole, so we're going to go ahead and still make you pay. No way. The law is on your side. So you want that protection for at least 3 years. That's what the $59.99 a month is for. That's it.
Cool.
All right, guys, if you have any questions on how the program works, you're welcome to hit me up on Facebook. You're welcome to email me, eric@creditnerds.com. You're welcome to call the office, 877-614-6373. You're welcome to go to the website, creditnerds.com. Get with us. Let us know how we can help you. All we're going to ask is I'm going to ask you, hey, are you interested in trying to do that? And you're going to say yes. And I'll go, okay, list out your limit and balances with your accounts, the ones that you're trying to get rid of. And then I'm going to shoot you back a proposal that's, hey, if you used our program, you would pay this much for this many months and you'd be done. What do you think? That's it. It's no hard sell. If you're interested in what it would be, shoot over an email that says, hey, I'm interested, your limits, your balances, and give me a notification. I don't want the card number, but okay, I've got a Bank of America account, I've got a Chase account, I've got this Wells Fargo account, so on and so forth. So give me an idea of what you got, and then the limit and the balance. That's all we need. And I can get you a proposal as to what your payment would be if you did this program. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. On behalf of the Debt Assistance Network and on behalf of CreditNerds.com, my name is Eric Counts, and this has been the Debt Relief Webinar. We will talk to you guys soon.